This is me, during my last year in New York. I'm French, and it seems ironic that after I left the US because of the pandemic, New York turned into a European city. Terraces, cafes, outdoor dining, just like in my hometown. Paris, though, is taking it to the next level. Not only are streets close to cars, plans are made for a new 15-minute city. Which leads me to wonder, could Paris be the first city to ban cars completely?
Dans les 10 années qui viennent, les Champs-Élysées seront quasiment complètement piétons. Il y aura 3 chats sur la place de l'Étoile. On pourrait avoir 1 million de mètres carrés qui se réalisent là. Ça serait un projet exceptionnel. Et pas du tout provocateur.
Paris isn't new to radical urban projects. In fact, if the city has successfully contained the virus upon reopening, it isn't only because Parisian businesses use little AC and have discovered the use of windows. The city has actually been muddled by health concerns throughout the years.
De la Restauration à la monarchie de Juillet, marquée par l'épidémie de choléra de 1832, il y a eu des prises de conscience sur la nécessité, le lien qu'on pressent entre la densité urbaine, les taudis et puis la santé publique.
In the 1850s, Georges-Eugène Haussmann continues to remodel Paris by demolishing the dense and intricate streets of the Middle Age. He builds large boulevards, city parks and squares, and most importantly, conceptualizes the first modern drain grid. It also raised criticisms.
On a complètement détruit le Paris médiéval pour des raisons affichées d'hygiène, mais en réalité, c'est pas ça. La question, c'est qu'il y a quand même une volonté du pouvoir de s'assurer une maîtrise de l'espace urbain dans des conditions qui sont nouvelles. Évidemment, les tracés sinueux médiévaux, ça ne rassure pas le pouvoir.
After the 19th century, urbanists continue to place hygiene and health at the center of their work. Le Corbusier publicizes his 5 precepts of modern architecture, emphasizing the circulation of sun and air against tuberculosis. He even proposed to demolish a big part of the old historic Paris and replace it with 18 skyscrapers in his radical project L'Envoisin. Fast forward to the 2000s, the focus changes. The Eiffel Tower is partially hidden by the grey mist of pollution. A 2018 report by Greenpeace ranks Paris as the second worst polluting European city in a list of 13. The capital systematically fails to meet the EU air quality targets of particle emissions. The European Justice Court even condemned France in 2019 for systematically and persistently exceeding the annual limit value for nitrogen dioxide. Of course, Parisian air can't compare to the world's most polluted cities, but the French capital held a grim record in 2015 when it hit the highest peak of pollution, even before Shanghai or Delhi. Air pollution dropped during the confinement, but the fresh breeze was short-lived. According to a recent study, Paris is the European city with the strongest pollution rebound upon reopening, and this despite aggressive measures taken by Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, such as temporarily pedestrianizing roads and adding 30 miles of bike lanes to the existing 620 miles. The iconic Rivoli Street, which stretches through for over 2 miles in the center of the capital, is now closed to private vehicles. In a bid for her re-election, Hidalgo proposed a more than timely urban plan to reduce pollution and stress. The key pillar of this plan?
La ville du quart d'heure.
Or in English, the 15-minute city. Moreno's plan is conceived to improve both our quality of life by saving time and our environment by reducing unnecessary movements around town.
Plutôt que construire de nouvelles installations pour se déplacer plus vite et mieux, il valait mieux rapprocher de chacun de nous, habitants d'une ville, les fonctions sociales urbaines qui sont les plus importantes, le meilleur déplacement, et celui que l'on ne fait pas.
The plan aims at bringing people closer to the places where they live, work, provision, get fit, learn, and thrive. One of its tools is to convert existing places into multi-purpose locations. Schools could become social centers for adults during the weekends, nightclubs could transform into gym studios during the day. Moreno says he doesn't want for locals to entrench themselves in small villages, but to create a multi-centric city with many centers, many services, and more fluidity.
La vraie question qui se pose aujourd'hui, c'est quelles sont les priorités des déplacements. La première, c'est les piétons. La deuxième, c'est les vélos, les transports en bus, collectifs. Et un dernier, la voiture.
Yet, according to the newspaper Le Monde, 50% of the public space is still reserved for cars. Could we think the space differently? Banning cars from Paris would require building more housing and densifying an already congested city. And according to Sarfati, there's another problem.
C'est de rendre complètement absurde la ville du quart d'heure. Parce que le retrait de la voiture induit immédiatement la disparition d'un certain nombre d'activités qui sont rejetées plus loin, ailleurs, en périphérie, et notamment toutes les activités où il y a des choses pondéreuses à transporter. On veut acheter un tapis, on veut acheter un téléviseur, il faut aller ailleurs. Il n'y a plus de services de ce genre en centre-ville.
So, is getting rid of cars completely a utopian vision with too many inherent contradictions?
Si on ne veut pas que Paris devienne une ville-musée, je ne vois pas très bien comment on peut se passer de voiture.
Il ne faut pas être uniquement dans l'idéologie, il faut être capable de théoriser cette relation qu'a l'espace public, la circulation, et puis cette nature qui vient à la fois pour combler les angoisses de la pandémie et en même temps celle de toutes les technologies qui nous envahissent.
Pour permettre de satisfaire des besoins impératifs, et j'ai dit, oui, la voiture individuelle en autosolisme, 0.
Will all cars soon be banned from Paris? It sounds like the answer is actually oui, but also a bit of no. How French.